Seth lives a life of complete isolation. No family, no friends, and no social connections. He works for the city's animal control department, and the only creatures he truly bonds with are the ones he captures and cares for. His routine never changes. Work, go home, repeat. It's a quiet, lonely existence, but he's used to it, maybe even prefers it. That is, until one ordinary bus ride home turns his world upside down. On the bus, Seth notices a girl, someone who instantly captures his attention. Without thinking twice, he approaches her and says softly, "Hello." But there's a problem. She doesn't recognize him. To ease the awkward tension, Seth calls her Holly, claiming they went to high school together, but Holly just gives him a blank look. She doesn't remember him at all. Still, Seth keeps talking, intrigued by her calm presence. Holly, clutching a small diary, mentions that she's an avid journal writer. Every day she records her thoughts, her reflections, her life. Seth finds that strangely fascinating, like a window into her soul. Gathering what little courage he has, he asks her out for coffee. But Holly quickly turns him down, explaining she's already in a relationship and that she works as a waitress. Before Seth can respond, she gets off the bus, leaving him sitting there, disappointed, restless, and unable to get her out of his head. That night, Seth's thoughts spiral. He can't stop thinking about Holly, her voice, her eyes, that diary. So he turns to social media, trying to find her online. After some digging, he finally tracks her down. The next day at work, Seth brings up the topic to his coworker, Nate, the building's security guard and one of the few people who ever talks to him. He nervously asks how to impress a girl like Holly. Nate laughs and says, "Simple, be confident." Girls love confident guys, but Seth's confidence is quickly tested when tragedy strikes. He gets a call about Lexi, a sick shepherd dog he's grown attached to at the shelter. The department has decided to put her down because her medical costs are too high. The vet even offers Seth a chance to adopt her, but deep down, he knows he's not capable of caring for her. With a heavy heart, he watches as the doctor administers the injection, then later burns Lexi's body himself, a moment that leaves him hollow inside. Later that evening, while cleaning up, Seth stumbles across something strange, a trapdoor leading to a hidden basement beneath the animal cages. The discovery sparks his curiosity, but for now, he brushes it aside. His mind is too consumed by one thought, Holly. Night after night, Seth's fixation grows. He finds out where she works, watches her from a distance, studies her pictures, and fills an entire notebook with details about her. Her smile, her schedule, her habits. His quiet life has found new meaning, and it's all centered on her. Determined to make Holly remember him, Seth shows up at the restaurant where she works. He greets her with a nervous smile, but just like before, nothing. She doesn't recognize him at all. Once again, he's brushed aside. Refusing to give up, Seth awkwardly asks her out to a concert. Holly, clearly irritated, storms off mid-shift, leaving him standing alone in the parking lot, rejected, humiliated, and heartbroken. That night, as Holly walks home, she can't shake the eerie feeling that someone's watching her. Every shadow, every footstep echoes too close. When she glances back, her fears are confirmed. Seth is following her from the darkness. Panicked, Holly races to her apartment and tells her friend Claire about the terrifying encounter. The next day, while at work, Holly receives a bouquet of flowers. Thinking they're from her boyfriend, Eric, perhaps an apology for his strange drunken phone call the night before, she feels a moment of relief. But when she later asks him about the flowers, Eric looks confused. He didn't send them. That's when it hits her. They're from Seth. Meanwhile, Seth's obsession spirals out of control. He begins following Holly everywhere, fixated on her every move. When he finally admits to sending the flowers, Holly snaps, furious and disgusted. Things turn violent when Eric suddenly shows up and attacks Seth, beating him to the ground before storming off with Holly. But even bloodied and bruised, Seth doesn't stop. He's more obsessed than ever, especially after learning about Holly's diary, the journal she writes in every single day. Somehow, Seth manages to get his hands on it. As he reads her most private thoughts, he becomes completely consumed by the details of her life, her fears, her desires, her secrets. And buried within those pages, Seth discovers something shocking. a secret that ignites something dark inside him. Now fully lost in his obsession, Seth begins to plan something sinister. The next morning at the Animal Control Center, he heads straight to the hidden basement he found earlier. Using steel bars and scraps from the facility, he constructs a large cage. To complete his plan, he steals a paralyzing sedative, the same kind used to tranquilize wild animals. Before using it, he even tests it on himself to see how it works. That night, Seth lurks in the shadows outside Holly's apartment, watching and waiting. When he finally sees her leave, he seizes his moment. Quietly, he sneaks inside her home, injects her with the sedative, and drags her unconscious body away. He takes her to the animal control building, hiding her in a crate when his coworker, Nate, passes by. Nate notices something odd, but Seth quickly distracts him and continues with his twisted mission. Down in the basement, Seth locks Holly inside the steel cage. Hours later, she wakes up, dazed and weak, her limbs barely moving as the drug wears off. When she realizes where she is, trapped in a cold concrete basement surrounded by the sounds of caged animals, terror floods her face. She screams for help, clawing at the bars until her nails crack and one rips clean off. But no one hears her cries. The basement remains silent, her voice drowned by the growls and rattles of animals nearby. The next morning, Seth returns. In a disturbing display of control, he brings Holly food, served on a toilet seat. He tells her that she never even bothered to learn his name, forcing her to say it aloud. Then he leaves, disappearing for days. When he finally returns, he finds Holly lying unconscious, weak from dehydration. Panicking, he forces water into her mouth, muttering that she needs to drink. When she begs him not to leave her again, he coldly turns and walks away. Alone once more, Holly's mind begins to fracture. She starts hallucinating, imagining her friend Claire standing beside her, whispering words of comfort. Desperation drives her to use the toilet seat Seth left behind, as she no longer has the strength to hold on. The following day, a rat crawls into the cage. At first, Holly screams in fear, but then something in her changes. In a surge of raw survival instinct, she crushes it. It's brutal, but it's a sign. She's adapting. She's growing stronger, darker, more determined to live. When Seth returns again, Holly looks him straight in the eye and asks, "Do you want to kill me?" He pauses and answers coldly, "No, I don't want to kill you, but I might if it comes to that." Then, in a chilling tone, he confesses that he's loved her from the moment he first saw her. In his delusional mind, he believes he's protecting her, saving her from the cruel, dangerous world outside. After that, Seth leaves again. But this time, Nate catches him sneaking around and starts to grow suspicious. When he questions Seth about his strange behavior, Seth lies and slips away unnoticed. The next day, he returns to the basement carrying Holly's diary. He shows it to her, proudly revealing that he knows everything, her secrets, her thoughts, her pain. He asks her about Claire, pressing for details, insisting he's heard her voice echoing through the cage. Holly, terrified but clever, denies everything. But in her mind, she imagines Claire standing right behind Seth, a ghostly vision watching over her, while Seth's madness grows deeper by the minute. Holly's mind races as Seth leans closer, his voice trembling between obsession and revelation. To her shock, he tells her the truth. Claire doesn't exist. "She's not real?" Seth whispers. "You created her?" Holly stares at him, frozen. Seth explains that Claire is nothing more than a hallucination, a fragment of her broken mind. "You're sick," he says softly, almost pitying her. Then his tone hardens as he lays out the truth about her past. Holly and Eric were once engaged, but everything fell apart the night she discovered he was cheating with Claire. The betrayal shattered her. According to Seth, Holly lost control, crashed her car, and in a fit of blind rage, grabbed a shard of glass and stabbed Claire in the eye, killing her instantly. Holly trembles, denying everything, insisting that her diary is just fiction, stories she wrote to vent her emotions. But Seth doesn't believe her. He calmly replies, "I knew they were fictions too, until I realized they weren't." Then he exposes what he's learned from her journal, chilling confessions of violence and death. Holly had written about setting people on fire, strangling them, watching them die. Seth tells her that he didn't kidnap her out of obsession. He did it because he believes she's dangerous. a murderer. "I'm saving you," he says, "and saving the world from you." The next morning, Holly's behavior changes. She's quieter, calmer, almost compliant. She cleans herself with what little water she has, speaking to Seth in a gentle tone. When he tries to bring up the murders again, she suddenly slams her head against the cage, blood dripping down her face. Seth panics, not knowing what to do. Days pass and she grows weaker, starving, dehydrated, desperate, yet cunning. She changes tactics, pretending to fall for him. Her voice softens, her eyes plead. She tells Seth that maybe she loves him too. The words melt his defenses. Desperate to believe her, Seth agrees to bring her food. But Nate, his co-worker, has been watching. He's noticed Seth's strange disappearances. Suspicious, Nate decides to investigate. He follows Seth's trail into the basement. And there, to his horror, he finds Holly locked inside the cage. Holly immediately begs for help, pleading with him to unlock the door. But before Nate can react, Seth appears behind him. Everything freezes. In a shocking twist, Holly turns to Seth, her voice cold, commanding. "Kill him," she whispers. "Use the rock." Seth hesitates, trembling, but Holly keeps pushing. "Do it, for me." And just like that, Seth obeys. With one brutal swing, he crushes Nate's skull. Silence fills the basement. Moments later, Holly's voice turns eerily calm. She instructs Seth on how to hide the evidence, how to dispose of the body, and he listens. Step by step, he removes Nate's fingerprints, pulls out his teeth, and dismembers the corpse. Over 2 nights, Seth feeds what's left to the dogs in the kennels. Soon, the police begin investigating Nate's disappearance. They visit the animal control department, warning Seth that he's now under watch. Paranoia grips him. He's losing control. And Holly knows it. She begins manipulating him again, questioning his love. "If you really love me," she says softly, "prove it. Give me something that shows your devotion." When he asks what she means, she stares directly at him. "A piece of yourself." Your finger, Seth's face twists in pain, but he doesn't. He cuts off his own finger and lays it before her like an offering. Then, as he collapses in agony, Holly makes her move. She grabs the knife, her eyes blazing with rage and cunning. She points it at her throat and warns him, if he doesn't set her free, she'll end it all. Panicked and confused, Seth unlocks the cage. He reaches out to comfort her, believing her words, believing she truly loves him. But as he leans closer, Holly turns the blade on him. In one swift motion, she slashes his throat. Blood spills across the floor as Seth collapses, gasping for air. Holly stands over him, silent, then walks away, leaving him to die. Days later, Holly is free, back with Eric. But the nightmare isn't over. Eric hasn't changed. He's still cheating, still lying. In the film's haunting final scene, Holly visits a secluded house on the outskirts of town. She walks inside slowly, her expression cold and detached. In the corner, behind rusted bars, a man sits slumped in a cage, filthy, disfigured, missing a finger. It's Seth, barely alive. Holly kneels down, watching him in silence. Her face is emotionless, neither pity nor anger, just eerie calm. As the camera lingers on her faint smile, the screen fades to black, leaving only the sound of his shallow breathing. The story ends not with justice, but with dread, because Holly isn't the victim anymore. She's the monster.